Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Breakfast with Jorge Dizzle, one of world's most respected metal consultant expert in risk management.
Hi, good morning. How are you? So glad to be here with you again.
Good morning Jorge. I hope you're having your breakfast. So what is in there in your breakfast today?
For breakfast. Well, today I'm having coffee, which is mainly white, and some dry toast and an orange juice. Nothing very strange.
Please give us the general view of the metal market in the last 2 weeks of November.
Well, these 2 weeks have been really very interesting because we have seen at a moment of time the prices declining on the basis of no particular no. So it was an important test to the market to understand whether this is a correction or whether this is a change of a trend. But sitting today, I would say I think it was a correction. I mean, the copper is again over 11,000. It's doing now 11,005. The aluminum went down to 2,780 something, 88, and now it's doing 2,850. And furthermore, just to talk about other metals, lead 1,993. Sorry about the noise. I am now again in Brazil, in an airport. It's noisy. 2 weeks ago I was in Panama. Now it's Brazil, and the lead is doing 1,993. The zinc is doing 3,038, and the tin is doing 36,200. And it's important, on the tin, we still see a backwardation. Remember that a backwardation means that the nearby price, the cash, for example, is much higher than the future price, again, opening for a number of opportunities.
So that means there is a change in the trend. So what do you think a consumer or a producer would do at this end? Hedge with futures or options?
Well, as I said, I don't expect this to be a change of trend. I still think we are in a positive market with positive trends. And, we should not be afraid of a correction. But think of this. 2 days ago, on Wednesday, the 26th of November, the markets went down 2%, mainly the copper and the aluminium. Thursday, up 1.5%. And this is not related to a particular situation on the real economy, I mean supply demand. Mainly this is based on expectancies, on the situation of the dollar, which is, on the day before yesterday, the market went up again. So Wednesday up, Thursday down, today up again. And if you see, there is no an explanation related to the real market when you see this. There is behind that the speculators which trade on the basis of a stronger euro today, for example, which was weaker days ago. And since you don't see a real explanation on the real economy, a punctual fact, it means again, it's a wave of speculative movement. As we always say, in every single futures market, the hedge funds or any financial entities who trade in the market and add, of course, a lot of liquidity, represent more than 90% of the volume. And that's it.
So, Jorge, we all know that you are from Argentina. Tell us something about what's happening in your country.
Well, thank you very much for the question, of course. And I'm going to try not to take any political inclination, but to explain my views from the outside. During the last decades, very long time, 4, 5 decades, the country was taken, or even more, was taken mainly by a system whereby the populism was running the country, basing on the state support to the workers and based on huge debt, public debt, and based on huge monetary expansion, printing money. And that drove the country into inflations, into instability, and also mainly into creating a culture into the people that perhaps instead of working, I made in a way live off the state support, subsidies, which of course is not all the population, but it creates a messy way of thinking. The young people voted almost 2 years ago a new president, which is Javier Milei, and he's not only liberal, he's liberal and liberty focused, which means that they expect to reduce the most the role of the state that he did. He also stopped the money printing, and we had in 1 month, in December, 55% of inflation. Now it's 1%, and it's going to be under 1%, near zero, very shortly. I guess that in 6 months we are going to see digits in 1% or less than 1% per month. Yeah, while most of the developed countries have this inflation 4, 5, 6, 10, 8 per year. There was a huge structural change, also liberating the possibility to explore and explode mainly copper. Imagine, we have the same Cordillera de los Andes, neighbor to Chile, and on this side of the Cordillera, on the mountains, there were no exploitation of copper, which is starting now. So Argentina may become the second largest producer of copper in the world, when within 10 years, not less than that. But very shortly, in 4 or 5 years, we're going to see like $11 billion, new $11 billion coming into the country. Also, there was a very important expansion on the energy sector. And now a tax reform is coming because Argentina still has a large number of taxes, creating higher costs compared to the rest of the world, and also a labor reform, which would really try to make that the 50% of the workers which are outside any law, over the counter, should come in and reinforce the system. So I'm very, very, very optimistic on Argentina. Not just because being Argentinian, I'm really very optimistic. There is still room to change. I mean, if you need to change a structural system which lasted for decades, you need a lot of time. And I believe it will happen. Yeah.
So it's amazing how your country is doing. Tell us something about what is happening over there regarding aluminium and copper.
Many foreign companies are coming to explore and explode. There is a new law giving them protection for a large number of years. Tax protection is shell that would avoid them any Argentinian risk in terms of developing the country well. the RIGI, it's called the RIGI system. Many of them are coming, both in the metal sector, in the energy sector too, mainly in the two ones. And also there is a cut coming from the taxes on agri-exports, which is also made up the production. So it's amazing, the potential is amazing. So as you asked on the aluminum, I worked 11 years for Aluar, the aluminum company, and they are producing their own energy, aeolic energy, and mainly 100% of the aluminum coming from Aluar is green. Well, it will depend pretty much on the scopes, but mainly it's green. And I believe it's a very optimistic scenario for the country. Now I remember that there is a point I didn't mention. Perhaps a driver for a lower market on the metals in general could be the Chinese situation, that people say it's not that good, that there have not been enough adjustments. So if that is the case, the Chinese economy cools down, maybe the demand is going to be lower. But I believe that, on the other hand, investors are creating security inventories due to the projection of the demand in many sectors, including the artificial intelligence, that, as I always say, it's a driver of a next revolution, industrial revolution, that we are at the very beginnings, but we are already.
What is your viewpoint about rupee and dollar in your country, that is Argentina?
What is my view on the rupee? Well, what I can tell you, we have seen lately the rupee steadied around 89.50, 89.40, around those values. There was a movement some time ago, and I expect the market in general, the currency market in particular, the rupee, to stay steady against the US dollar, or perhaps stronger, perhaps going to a level of 88.90 very shortly. And this is because we see that the interest rates in the USA will go down. Definitely they go down. Perhaps in December we're going to see some cut. Otherwise it's going to be next year. The next year is very important because there's going to be a shift on the Fed, and an important cut is coming. This is what I expect. Then in terms of the rupee may stay somewhat stronger against the dollar, or saying in other ways, a weaker dollar. Okay, so see you next time. It was so good to have you, and stay tuned for the third chapter of Breakfast with Jorge, which is with me. See you.